Hello. The patch notes for the new season, Season 16, just dropped about an hour ago or so. The devs normally drop the patch notes one day before the patch actually drops. So spent a bit of time going through it, just having a look at it, and I thought it would be worth going through my thoughts in a video. For Season 15, I went through the patch notes as part of the start of one of the videos in which I played a game, but I thought it would be better to separate it, so if people want to refer to it, they know exactly which video has the patch notes on it, because I'll call it something different. I'm probably going to stick mostly to changes relevant to Vanessa, but if there's some non-Vanessa stuff that I think is worth commenting on, I will. Vanessa's all the way at the bottom, but we'll just go through everything. Okay, so the way ranked works has now changed. It seems like they're going to make it harder for you to reach legend rank to start off with, which I think is good, because reaching legend rank was very much just a function of how much time you're willing to put in. Anybody of any skill level would just end up in legend if they played enough games. But now it seems like you have to actually be consistently winning in gold and diamond tier to make your way through it and reach legend. It also seems like they're making it so at higher ranks you don't just you're not punished for not getting 10 wins all the time. After a certain level, you could only climb with 10 wins, and if you, let's say you're a 2k and you got a 7-win victory, you'd maybe gain like 10 rank or something. And if you lost, but if you got like a 4-win loss or something, you'd lose like 500 rank or something. So it was very easy to have like one loss just kick you multiple days away, and you'd have to win like 10 times the amount of games just to climb up. So it seems like they're trying to stabilize that a bit, which is nice. Much to my surprise, the base income is now permanently 5. Well, I guess for now. I was very surprised. I previously said that I would be surprised if they keep it at 5, but it seems like they are, and it seems like they're trying to fix the economy so you have less money is tied to your income, and you get more of that money from picking econ nodes. It's worth just thinking about why they have made this change. We haven't really had much explanation why, so I have some thoughts on it. I think if the starting income was too high, so like 10, then it would be too easy to just buy every item you needed, and you could just hedge for loads of different pivots, and it wouldn't be very interesting. Similarly, if the starting income was like 3, there would be no room to do interesting builds, because you could only buy a few items, so you'd only end up buying the stuff you knew was the most reliable. It would centralize builds a lot more. There is obviously some sweet spot of income where you have enough money to feel like you can buy multiple different pivots, or hedge items for multiple different pivots, but not so much money that everyone can just do it. There is an element of skill expression which comes with using your game knowledge to know when to go to the shop and know when not to go to the shop. I'm not saying 5 is the right income. I don't know what that right income is. It seems like the devs are trying to find what that income is as well. I feel like 5 is definitely playable without being too punishing. It just requires, especially in the early days, for you to be a bit more careful. And in the late days, it requires you to not shop recklessly and have some sort of economy strategy built up from the early days. Certain characters are definitely punished for this more than others. It's well known that Jules doesn't really have good econ options, whereas Pig obviously suffers the least because his entire character is about farming gold. Vanessa has decent econ items. You have 3 items: fishing net, fishing rod, and the shovel, which generate items for you, and you can sell them back to build up, to essentially give yourself a faux bonus income. And she has Star Chart and Astrolabe to give you extra gold from the dock events. So she's not punished more than most characters, but as always, you will have to think about how you go to shops now. I think this will definitely be a perception thing for a while. From my understanding, it's been 7 income for quite a long time, so people are used to shopping with 7 income, and will now have to get used to shopping with 5 income, but I think eventually people will get used to it. Anyway, that's all I have to say on income. I'm not going to comment on tournament mode, not going to comment on season changes. Probably not worth commenting on encounters, because we don't know what exactly the items have for now. Aurora Drone is a new encounter, so there are a bunch of these encounters like improve weapons, improve your burn items, improve your ammo items. That's what Vanessa can see. Don't know if Vanessa can see any other ones. She can see improve your poison items as well, I believe. And they're normally like, there's 4 options. It's normally like give your item plus damage or plus ammo or plus burn. Give it spend 5 gold to give it 25% crit chance. Then 10 gold to upgrade it, spend 20 gold to enchant it. So I presume this is the same thing, but for non-CD items. I can't think of many good ones Vanessa would have. I mean, Iceberg comes to mind, Swashbuckle, Figurehead, but I don't exactly know what the options would be, so it's not really worth speculating. It's another fight, not for Vanessa, not for Vanessa. Private Pitchfork sells neutral items at gold tier. I presume this is just curio, but the items she sells will be of gold rarity now. So instead of a sort of bronze insect wing, you'll get a gold insect wing, which is relevant. That's, I think, at gold insect wing is 4% cooldown reduction. Obviously, the items, when you go to curio, you tend to just buy, sell, because it's very cheap. These items, well, bronze small items cost 2 to buy and 1 to sell, so it's very cheap. You probably can't do that with Private Pitchfork, but the trade-off is that the items are much better and much more useful. If you find a icicle, it will freeze for example. With the reduced income, it might be harder to go to Private Pitchfork than it is to curio. So something worth thinking about. Not for Vanessa. Salvager is interesting. Transforms your stash into loot items based on their tags and presumably based on their rarities. Without knowing what tags turn into what loot items, it's not very useful right now, but eventually people will know exactly what does what, and this can be useful. Vanessa tends to want gunpowder, cinders, or crit, so knowing what items can turn into those will be very useful. Cooldown is obviously good with Insect Wing or Feather as well, so I think this Salvagard will become a sleeper OP encounter once people know everything about it. Sells items from other heroes, Sticky Beans, kind of like Pearl's Dig Site, but you have to pay for it. I guess we'll see exactly how powerful this is. Cross-class vendors are kind of hard to go to unless you know what exactly you are looking for. Jules is pretty bad for Vanessa, but Mac, Karnok is obviously good. Dooley has some broken items such as Fiber Optics. Pig is pretty bad for Vanessa as well. Stella's also pretty bad for Vanessa, so I think non-specific items from all heroes might be pretty hard to get value out of. But I guess we'll see just how good this is. Not for Vanessa, and I don't know what Wishing Well is going to be doing. Make a wish for random items without knowing what exactly the options are. It's not really useful. So now going on to the encounters in the game that have been changed, it seems like the right side options, they're trying to make them better as part of this, improving the econ node value by reducing the base income by increasing the econ node value. So by the looks of it, they'll generally offer you a better rarity item than you could get on the day on average. So something worth thinking about. Apothecary is the defensive version of Artisan Dunes, which is, give damage, burn, or poison. Vanessa doesn't really go to this because she doesn't really have defensive items. Very rarely will she have defensive items, and very rarely will she have multiple on the board. So not really worth looking at, although, this is definitely nice. Borrow is only now days 1 and 2. I don't know if the borrow value has been changed. It doesn't say here, so I presume it hasn't. So on day 1, this will give you 9 gold, and presumably on day 2 it will also give you 9 gold. That's really the only time you'd click borrow, to be honest, so this hasn't changed in what it does for you. 9 gold immediately is quite a lot. Obviously you're kicking your income down to 4. It used to go from 7 to 6, now it's 5 to 4, which is, the function is still the same, but the what actually ends up happening to you on the start of each day is quite big. So, you know, going from getting 7 gold to 6 gold at the start of every day is definitely a negative, but you can still buy things with 6 gold. But let's say you use borrow, you spend all that money you got from the borrow, and then you are skint by the start of the next day, and you only start with 4 gold. It's a bit of a bigger hit, something to be aware of. Big is finally legendary tier, as he should be. This guy's giving out one of the best legendary items in the game. He shouldn't be a silver fight, and he shouldn't be appearing all the time. Perfect. Cash has now gives plus 2, 3, and 5 gold at its relative rarities. Cash was normally not very good to click on. I mean, getting 3 gold at day 1 is like not much better than just getting a random silver friend or a random silver weapon. So I like that they actually make this more valuable, but at the cost of not getting an item to kind of have an actual decision you have to make. And I think people will end up clicking this a lot just to get 5 gold. It sounds like Fry is just going to be back to normal. He's now gold tier. He's not spawning every other hour, and I presume even if they do keep the Lux exploit in, it's going to be very hard to make use of it now because Fry is going to be much rarer. Futura is the name of the woman who appears to you when you're on death's door. And it seems like the leftmost option, which used to be transform all items to gold rarity, is now upgrade all items by 1 tier. This is both a buff and a nerf. There were times when if you lost very early, like you just had a string of losses, and you ended up in Futura on like day 7 with all like bronze or silver items, just putting everything to gold was quite powerful to kick you back in the game. And then what often people would do, they'd click Wink afterwards to have basically a full board of gold tier items, which were improved. Now you can no longer do that. It just improves everything by 1. But this is also not bad. There are some items that just need to be at diamond rarity to be useful. What comes to mind is Tortuga. The difference between gold Tortuga and diamond Tortuga is huge. It reduces the cooldown from 12 to 10, which means it requires 1 less friend to charge. And the whole thing about Tortuga is as soon as you activate it, it should hopefully start looping itself. So Diamond Tortuga is very powerful, and sometimes you just lose the game because you can't find the Diamond Tortuga upgrade. But there are potentially times where you would click Futura just to turn a gold item into diamond. So I like this because there were times where the left option of turning everything to gold, you just couldn't make use of it at all because all your items that you needed were gold. But now there is a world where you would click this option. So it's nice, it gives more options. Invest in yourself. This used to only always give 1 income, I believe, but now the income scales 1, 2, 3. I definitely wouldn't click this on day 1. 1 income is definitely not enough. I think there is a world where you'd click this on day 2 or day 3 though. I think best case is probably day 3. That's the earliest you can get it to 2, and then you get multiple days of value from it. If you click this on day 5, you're getting less days to make use of the improved income. But I think you would probably still click it on 2 or 3 now if your other option wasn't as good, because this is like, plus 2 is like 20 gold over the course of the run. This is like 30 gold over the course of the run, which is pretty good actually. I think time will tell just how powerful this is, but I think this is definitely more clickable now. Library stops appearing as early, which is okay. I mean, Vanessa definitely likes it, but it's rare that you could afford pay the skill in the first place, and it's not very often I click the random skill, to be honest. Special Engine now gives 4 instead of 3, which is a buff. Mod Squad gains an interesting new item, no clue what that means, and Beautiful Friendship is now silver tier. I'm not sure what that means actually. We can have a look. I'll just pull up SRDB in the other tab for friendship. So Beautiful Friendship is 5, 10, 15 damage for each friend, and now it starts. Beautiful Friendship is now silver tier. Okay, fine. Mountain Pass reduced some of the gold rewards from this encounter. Not really sure what that means. There was one option which was 20 gold and 1 XP, I think. So maybe that's like halved. It's not very clear. What are the other gold options you can get? Maybe it changes the chest. The chest was definitely the worst outcome. Without actual clarity on what this means, it's hard to tell. I presume it means the gold reward has been reduced there. Change mushroom chain, trade it for something now gives a medium item. I believe trade it was, I'll just double check in the other tab. I believe trade it was get a neutral item, so now it's going to be trade it as a medium item. Mushroom. Yes, trade it for something was gain a neutral item, but now that's going to be gain a medium item. It sounds almost like they're trying to get rid of the lost crate encounter, which is either get a medium item or a random skill. I wonder, it doesn't mention it. It doesn't mention it's been removed. But now this, would you ever click get a medium item over a silver friend? Maybe, if it could be guaranteed silver. I guess it's hard. I think it doesn't exactly tell. I don't know. I don't know if I click this over getting a silver friend, but interesting. Tester is now a dually and Stell only vendor. Okay. That's kind of sucks, actually. There were some great tech items you could make use of. The SMG is a 2-second ammo weapon, which is tech. Fiber optics is obviously tech, which is one of the best items in the game. So not having access to the tech vendor is kind of a pretty noticeable nerf to Vanessa. You don't get truffle, and wink now gives 10 prestige. I'd very rarely click wink if ever, but having 10 prestige is nice, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. I'd very rarely use wink. Okay. Neutral item changes. So, creeping chill, frostfire. These are all the freeze effects. What is stunning strike? Let me have a look. Oh, on crit freeze. Okay, fine. So these are all standardized to 2, 3, 4. I believe they were 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Did this need to be nerfed that much? Huh. I wonder if this was necessary or not. I guess late game fights were definitely often decided by if you hit a freeze or not. I'm not sure the duration of the freeze that mattered, but maybe it did. At early levels, this makes these skills worse, which sucks because sometimes the best skill you get from... Sometimes you just whiff on a skill from Argenta, the first time you get a silver skill. And if it's not like a good scaling skill that you're looking for, if the best you get is a freeze skill, you're like not too upset, but now it's not. Now it's one less second freeze, which does hurt. But maybe the data show that these freeze skills were just too powerful, so we'll have to accept it. This is not affecting Vanessa, so I'm going to ignore it. And now these items only spawn at silver tier. So this means you can't get these items from Curio anymore, because Curio only sells the bronze versions. You can only get them from like some random item generation or from Miss Polly, whatever the frick her name was. Let's find her again. Private Pitchfork. Interesting. I guess they wanted to stop, well, blunderbuss stuff for one, getting a bronze magma core, holding onto it, and just like using it to explode people. I'm not sure about Icicle, Lagbolt, Sparkplug, or Gorgon Spore were people using those start of effects. You'd sometimes see Lagbolt or Sparkplug, and you'd obviously Sparkplug, and you'd sometimes see Icicle as well. I guess this is fine. A neutral bronze item shouldn't just be straight up winning you the game, so yeah, it's a bit harder to find. You might have to go to Private Pitchfork now. Something to be aware of. So all of the Lickit, I think that's the node name. All of the Lickit items have been changed to, by the looks of it, just instead of you having to farm them with all of this ammo nonsense, it's just if you have them on board at the end of a fight, they will grant they'll grant a flat value to adjacent items. So 20, 40, 60, 80 for shield. I never use the shield one on Vanessa, but if we just skip Dragon Ring for a second, Epicurean Chocolate was the damage one, so it would be 2 damage with 10 ammo, so give adjacent items 20 damage. So it's the same effect, it's just it's instantaneous, you don't have to farm it anymore, which is technically a nerf. It's a buff and a nerf because it's very hard to get all of the value from a single fight. So you'd normally get the value over 2 fights, but now this gives it instantaneously. The downside is that you can't farm it now. You can't use 10 ammo, upgrade it, refill the ammo, and then get the next value as well. So there's no way you can get like... So the crit one, for example, would be 10 crit if you use all 10 ammo, but let's say you use 9 ammo for 9 crit, upgraded it, which would now give 20 crit, and if you farmed all of that, you could give an item, essentially 30 crit, which is quite powerful. I think overall this is better. Farming the items was just annoying for one. But I think now we might see a kind of play pattern where you get the Liquid item, you hold it for the B1, B2 upgrade, you take that upgrade and give the upgraded value, because 40 damage is a huge amount to be giving to 2 items as well. And I think if we see the crit one, 10 or 20% crit, we see a lot, I've shown a lot in my Vanessa games how solving for crit is quite powerful for weapon lines, and being able to give 2 small items 20% crit can really help you, and can really go a long way. I'd be very surprised if we see games where people get this to diamond, but interesting. Dragon Ring reduced 1 cooldown, sure. I wonder if this will change the dragon fight in any meaningful way, probably not. Junkyard Club used to give items damage, but now when you sell this, it gets 2 loot items. You can get this from Curio, so it's like going to Curio to get 2 bronze loot items, which is okay, probably not that important. And Junkyard Repair Bot is just the same thing, I guess. And they have their own effects. They're like, this does damage, this repairs items and heals, I guess. Raffle Ticket has been reworked. Yeah, Raffle Ticket was kind of the best, well, one of the worst loots to get, just because a diamond raffle ticket can give you anywhere from 0 to 40 gold, but most importantly, it can just give you 0 gold, which is completely worthless. Now it's when you level up, it changes the value of the raffle ticket, setting it between 0 and whatever its highest value is. It's kind of annoying. It's definitely more reliable, but it's kind of annoying that you can get the raffle ticket and it does nothing for you, and you have to wait till you level up to get value from it. I mean, crypto would change every hour. This changes every 10 XP, which is much longer to have to wait for to get any immediate value from it. It makes generating random loot just slightly worse. Reroll token, shiny now spawns another reroll token, sure. What a meaningful change. We've already looked at sugar syrup. Temporary shelter does something, but I'm never getting this on Vanessa. Okay, I'm just going to whisk over other characters, unless there's something that is important to Vanessa, but I don't think so. The cores all got a bit changed. They used to have flat values, but now the effect scales, which is crazy. Armored core is already really good. Cryosphere was doing some freeze loop stuff. It looks like a lot of Dooley's early burn damage was nerfed, which is, well, obviously nice for Vanessa because nerfs on other characters makes her stronger. But I felt like he could do a lot of burn on day 1, which is not fair because Vanessa wants to do burn on day 1. Wallace is now notably a 3-second friend, good for Tortuga, so if you can generate this, you're not too upset. But it's a shield item, so bleh. Jules, some stuff is happening to Jules that I'm not going to comment on because I don't play Jules, but they're trying to make Stove or Cooler less completely RNG. I just had a game where I had the ice cubes, which if you put them on a cooler, they get +3 max ammo. And so I generated a random cooler and it went exactly in the middle of my board, which means I couldn't put, and I was planning to play Primordial and I basically couldn't put my ice cubes on the cooler because it would block what I was trying to do with the Primordial, which the Primordial had to be adjacent to some incendiary rounds and stuff, and it just like screwed it. So yeah, being screwed by cooler RNGs must suck to play Jules, so I hope they're going to fix it and make it more nice for them. Not really any relevant changes to Vanessa as far as I can see. So took a cooldown going down by 1 is nice. You can definitely play this on Vanessa because it shares its crit to the adjacent item, and I've definitely made use of this before. I'm sure, Ulu knife, whatever. Karnok, this change is very important. So Fairy Circle used to read, when your items are slowed or frozen, charge them instead, which means Fairy Circle would trigger if you slowed them, which obviously Karnok does, or if an enemy slowed them, meaning if you had Fairy Circle and you were doing a self-slow build, it also made you immune to enemy slows. It countered enemy slow builds, which was completely insane. Sometimes you'd be playing Lighthouse on Vanessa, you come against Fairy Circle Karnok and you just lose because you are charging their items for them. So now it doesn't do that anymore, which is nice because like this is too efficient of an item. If it also, if it not only helps you with your slow build, but it also counters enemy slow builds. A few Karnok nerfs, was expecting more, but that's okay. This item does a bit too much, so it got nerfed. Anyway. Not really interested in what Mac does. I mean, sometimes I have played Orly before on crit effect, so Orly now flying itself means it can never hit itself and do nothing on its first activation, which is nice. Otherwise, I don't really think anything Mac does is going to be worth looking at. Assembly with Pig. The Jabalian Drum is now silver tier, so maybe Vanessa can make use of this if you somehow bump into this. Not bad. Stel, maybe worth looking at. Master Mechanic used to be, was the skill that was when you're the first time one of your items is destroyed, repair it instead. It used to be a generic skill, and it was the only way to counter destroy builds for everyone. But now it's a Stella only skill, which, I mean, I'm not saying I always pick this, but sometimes the only thing your build loses to was destroy. And you would pick this as just the insurance against that. It was like, you got to level up, you went to Adira, and this was the skill you were given. You're like, I'll take that because it gives me some defense against destroy builds. But now you don't have that. Still got some nerfs, I think, generally, which is cool. Okay, now onto the big dog herself, Vanessa. Let's look at the item changes. So firstly, they're trying to decide what to do with ice bullets. This used to be, when you use an ammo item, freeze a random enemy item for the first 3 ammo items, or the first 6 ammo items. Then it was nerfed to 1 to 2, which it was at the end of this last season. And now it's the first 8 times use an ammo item, charge a freeze item for 1 second. I mean, it was already really hard to pick this nerf version. Now I generally just don't think you'll ever pick this skill anymore. Vanessa's only freeze items that have cooldowns are Ice Pick, the 4-second weapon, Yeti Crab, and Elemental Depth Charge. So obviously this is good for charging Elemental Depth Charge, but the problem is you always play Elemental Depth Charge you mostly always play Elemental Depth Charge with Yeti Crab already, so it's going to randomly split the charge against those 2 items anyway. So yeah, I don't really know when you would use this skill. Obviously, if you get an Icy Enchant or a random off-class skill, then this is potentially powerful, but this skill went from being very pickable to barely pickable to be never pickable unless extremely niche circumstances. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what they're doing, but sure. Okay. Calico, the scaling was changed a bit to just be a flat doubling at all levels. Well, it's increased against all levels while maintaining that flat doubling, which is, fine. Of all the weapons, I think Calico is pretty hard to make use of. It's a 6-second cooldown. You can play this early just because early game is slow enough that you can stack the crit, and if you can find damage scaling in the form of shot claws is okay, but this is it's very rare for Calico to stay on board, so yeah, fine, I guess. Catfish scaling was increased at all levels, 3, 6, 9, 12 from 2, 4, 6, 8. Catfish is definitely something you can play in the early game, although it did really feel a bit slow. There were times where you had a bronze catfish on day 1 that you were target hasting with an item, and it still took so long to stack poison and kill the opponent. But hopefully with, +1 now at bronze, +2 at silver, it'll be a lot more viable to just play a defensive line with coral armor, a life preserver, perma-hasting the catfish, well, not perma-hasting, but target hasting the catfish with a fishing rod or a Barnacuda or a Zorcid, and just trying to stack the poison and kill someone. So maybe there's some potential for aquatic friends to make a comeback that isn't just weapons. Cauterizing Blade, the base burn is 6, which is fine, probably will never make a difference, and the scaling was improved for the burn at all levels and the damage at Diamond. You're never playing this at Diamond, but Cauterizing Blade is definitely playable in the mid-game if you have some sort of haste-focused package, so Aquatic Friends tends to be haste-focused. And I think Cauterizing Blade is fine. This buff at Silver and Bronze definitely makes it a bit easier to play, and makes it a bit stronger in the mid-game, so might be worth picking this up if you see it, just to get you through the mid-game before you get to day 6 and start to pivot. I think this item is good. Balanced around being played mid-game, but definitely not playable late game, and I think they've just made it a bit better at doing its job, which is fine. Chum increases the crit chance of food items, will probably never be relevant unless you do some sort of Jules pivot. Maybe all the Jules players should be aware of this, I guess. Dart Launcher is now 3 ammo. It sounds like it doesn't do damage anymore, so it's no longer a weapon, and it instead does the slow and poison value without requiring the adjacency. This is what I assume this item does now. It doesn't actually explicitly say it. If I just go to the other tab and look at Dart Launcher so we can look at the values. So it no longer will do damage. It will slow 1, 2, 3 items for 1 second. That's silver, gold, diamond. And poison for 3, 6, 9. That's silver, gold, diamond. Is there a build or a world where this ever gets played? 3-second ammo item with a 4-second cooldown that poisons and slows. It's another slip activator. For I guess like a lighthouse, anglerfish, shrimp, etc. And it's a poison activator for, well, I actually don't know. There's not really a poison activator you need. I guess you'd sometimes use this when you are trying to build up a scimitar build. So there's that. But I would be very surprised if Dart Launcher suddenly becomes something people are talking about. I think this item kind of doesn't do anything to actually be playable. It probably needs a more substantial rework to give it something more powerful and unique. Devastating flagship nerfs. This used to be 50, 100, 50, 100, 200. Then it went to 40, 80, 160, and now it's 35, 70, 140. At this level, at these values, you could definitely play it on pickup, but you needed to find scaling fast. Now I think flagship, you basically can't play it without scaling. 35 damage with 5 multicast is definitely not enough to win most days anymore on its own. Without scaling and at least 5 multicast and probably haste, it's going to be hard to play flagship. So we're going to see a lot less flagships for sure. You have to have it solved before you can play it. And if you can solve it, I still think flagship is strong. It's 5-second cooldown. It can reliably get 5 multicast. It can reliably get 4 multicast. It's not too hard to get 5, and it takes a bit of work to get 6. You can reasonably get 5 into the late game, and there's a lot of good items to get it perma-hasted. Captain's Quarters hastes for 1, 2, 3 at silver, gold, diamond. Captain's Wheel hastes for, I think, 1, 2, 3 as well. That's silver, gold, diamond. And it's pretty easy to have a board that's flagship, Captain's Wheel, Captain's Quarters to just perma-haste all 3 items. Then you have the remaining 2 slots to get your flagship with the remaining trigs it needs. Bernacuda gives 2, Divewits gives 2, Star Chart gives 2. But yeah, without damage scaling solved, I don't think you can just pick up and play flagship anymore. It's probably now going to be a case of where you buy flagship, if you see it, you hold on to it, and you try and find the tools necessary before putting it on board nowadays. Grappling Hook was changed to no longer slow. Cooldown is reduced by 1. It's 2 targets at all tiers, and now it's haste. I mean, the 1 cooldown reduction is definitely relevant. 7 seconds felt too slow for this to even be a useful weapon. Now with 6 it's maybe playable. I just think random slow is really hard to make use of. It's more often than not you want targeted slow. Like haste adjacent, haste right, haste left. It's very rare you're going to make use of random slow. But on a weapons board, maybe you can, have a silver grappling hook that hastes 2 weapons for 2 seconds. Might be worth buying this on day 1. This is, as a bronze item, this is haste 2 items for 2 seconds. If you even have, on day 1 you have only 6 slots, so it's more reliable. You will, haste what you want. So maybe grappling hook will get some more play. I doubt it's going to be like a game-breaking item that people are going to be taking into diamond tier or something, but maybe, this item was basically F tier before, so now maybe it can be, I don't know, D tier. Ice Pick, they improved the scaling, not interested. Jite improved the scaling, not interested. Mantis Shrimp, they improved the scaling, mildly interested. It's well known that I don't like shrimp, but I will say I think shrimp is playable on day 1 if you can find it on silver and you have something like a manta ray. On day 1, even with this horrible 9-second cooldown, it can definitely beat some boards just because you have the time to scale it to do 20 burn on a hit, 200 damage or something. And this buff on silver for both values definitely makes that easier. 80 damage at diamond is shouldn't be overlooked, but realistically if you have Mantis Shrimp at diamond, you should probably be doing different things. I don't think this change is going to make people start playing Mantis Shrimp at Diamond. But you could have like a Lighthouse board and you find a Diamond Mantis Shrimp and you sneak him on for some extra oomph. But realistically, you don't want to be playing Mantis Shrimp at Diamond. But maybe it can, you do tend to see some mid-game boards where someone's playing like Sea Dog Saloon and has a Mantis Shrimp and is praying that it's good enough to kill the opponent, and maybe now it actually will. Going from 20 to 40 at gold is a pretty sizable increase in damage, but remains to be seen. I just think the Mantis Shrimp cooldown being at 9 is so low, it needs to be brought down by 1 or 2 seconds at least before I think about even playing this after day 5. Anyway, Mr. Richardson increased up at Diamond. I mean, if you're playing a Diamond Richardson, more power to you. Same with Old Salt Claw. I just don't know when you would play this, so fine. Nesting Doll change, definitely a good item, so that's worth looking at. So it used to give extra ammo depending on its rarity. Now it's 1 ammo flat, which is definitely enough. The trade-off is it shields equal to 5, 10, 15 times its ammo. So what did it used to be actually? I think it used to be just its ammo, and now it's a multiplier of its ammo. Let's see. I'll have a look in the other tab. Shield equal to its ammo, so that's a multiplier of its ammo. So now the shielding is actually relevant. It would normally be like, oh, shield for 10 every 2 seconds, so now it can be shield for 50, 100, 150, which is a sizable amount of shield actually. I mean, it's not going to like give you, it's not going to double your health, but 150 shield is, like 100 shield every 2 seconds can like block a lot of burn early and give you some time to do what you want to do. So maybe overall a Nesting Doll buff. It's very rare that you needed 3 ammo every day. I mean, I guess like there is the skill Loaded Fury, which gives you damage equal to the amount of ammo your items have, so maybe enough for Loaded Fury specifically, but I think in general Nesting Doll probably still does the same job it does, and maybe buff just because it gives you some a tiny bit of defense. Huge changes to reloading. So Powderhorn goes from 4 to 3, and Ramrod goes from 3 to 4. Pretty devastating stuff here. So firstly, let's look at Powderhorn. This means if there used to be a world where Pop Snappers goes off every 3 and Powderhorn goes off every 4, so there'd be a world where, given enough time, your Pop Snappers would run out of ammo and not be reloaded by a Bronze Powderhorn. So in terms of that, it fixes that. Otherwise, Powderhorn basically kept up with all the items that need to be reloaded, like cannon or the double barrel shotgun. It didn't used to line up with rifle anyway, and with 3 seconds, now it kind of does, I guess. I mean, it does the same that old Ramrod used to do. So overall, it's better for Powderhorn, but I think what's bigger is the Ramrod nerf in general. For one, this kills Ram Rifle early. Ram Rifle is no longer playable. You need to have 2 ammo on rifle for it to work with Ramrod, and if you're spending ammo on your rifle, you're already in a loot. That's such a waste of gunpowder to put it on a rifle just so it full reloads with Ramrod. This still works with a double barrel shotgun. It still works with cannon. So in terms of the early game uses, it doesn't really change apart from with rifle. With the Bronze Barnacuda, unless it's target hasting the Ramrod, it no longer works. The Barnacuda needs at least 2 ammo. This doesn't matter for Pop Snappers, obviously. The problem is for late game, for ammo looping builds like Repeater or Throwing Knives or obviously Blunderbuss. This is such a huge change. A lot of times when you didn't have a lot of ammo for those items, it's reliant on the Ramrod to reload them back to full to keep the charge loop going. And with how internal cooldown works, internal cooldown is 4 activations every second. So if we use the previous value, 3 seconds means that if your Blunderbuss, let's say, had 12 ammo, it would fire continuously and then be fully reloaded by the Ramrod and keep firing continuously. But now with an extra second, your Blunderbuss needs 16 ammo to go off internal cooldown, assuming there's no disruption to the Ramrod's activation time. It's not too hard. With a bit of luck, you can get 10 ammo on an item late game. It requires a bit more luck to get 12. I don't think it's like nigh impossible to guarantee 16 ammo on a Blunderbuss. And I mean, God forbid you have a throwing knife and repeater loop, which requires 16 ammo across 2 items. Obviously, there's ways to get around this. You can haste the Ramrod with, turbo enchant somewhere, or like a Barnacuda, hasting it with a Blunderbuss. But this nerf overall is pretty devastating. I do think Ramrod was powerful. It's a full reload to adjacent items, which is huge. but this nerf means it's no longer something you can just buy and hold on to and slot into a late game ammo loot board without having a substantial amount of ammo, without having a substantial amount of gunpowder or turbo floating around. Seaweed scaling, great. I mean, if you're playing Diamond Seaweed, it's either enchanted or you're losing, so cool. Stealth Glider change, interesting. I think Stealth Glider was just ignored for the entire last season. I don't think I ever picked it up. I saw a couple of cool builds with it, using it to get some early damage reduction and then get a huge amount of defensive scaling with like a Seaweed or something to just like never die. Anyway, now it's been changed to hopefully do something interesting. So now Stealth Glider just gives you a flat 25 damage reduction, kind of like how the Leather Jacket on Karnak does scaling damage reduction. But this is just a flat 25% at all levels. And your flying items have their cooldown reduced by 1 second. I wonder, presuming this is silver rarity, how does it scale? Let's look at what the old one did. I guess it's the cooldown. Stealth Glider. Yeah, so Stealth Glider, its activation is an item starts flying and it goes off 4, 3, 2. That's silver, gold, diamond. This is interesting. I reckon this item has some secret tech you can do with it that people are going to figure out. If you can get a full flying board and reduce all of their cooldowns by 1 second, like this plus Marlon can get your entire board flying relatively quickly, because Marlon is every 3 seconds fly an item, and this is every 4, 3, 2 seconds fly an item. And then you can have a full board of flying items, 25 damage reduction, all items have 1 reduced cooldown, so you can have like a dive wave that goes off every 5 instead of 6. I think there's going to be some source with Stealth Glider. Watch this space. This might have some secret technology that people figure out. And finally, torpedo damage scaling increased at Diamond. I mean, I don't know who's playing torpedo at Diamond, so cool, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if plus 40 damage per item activation at Diamond is going to make this some sort of late game item, but that's cool. They standardized the scaling but on items, so now they just double. This is double as well, so it seems like in general they've standardized scaling across most items, that the values just double with each tier to match how the change that made all weapon items basically double damage at all tiers. So it looks like that's just what the base is now for most items. The scaling or shield or damage or heal is just double at all tiers. And we have a little teaser for the next character. Overall, interesting changes. I think there's more interesting system changes rather than character changes, at least for Vanessa. Flagship was definitely powerful and deserved to be nerfed. I don't see many interesting changes that made useless items more useful. I mean, maybe Stealth Glider. Ramrod change is pretty hurtful. Nesting Doll maybe is an interesting change. There's a lot of scaling changes that are never going to be relevant because no one's playing Jitte at Diamond or Ice Pick at Diamond for the damage value. Some early scaling changes. Catfish is nice. I think realistically, the late game builds that Vanessa's going to play is largely going to be the same. Probably less Flagship, but Tortuga's still the same. Primordial's still the same. I'm so surprised Blunderbuss did not get touched in any way. I mean, that's not true. It got the Ramrod change indirectly nerfs Blunderbuss, but you can now play Powderhorn, I guess. 3 seconds, and Powderhorn increases the amount of reload. Let's see. I think it's it must be like 1, 2, 3, 4, huh? Just head out and have a look. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Every 3 seconds reload 4 ammo, which is obviously not good enough for ammo loops, so probably not good overall. But Blunderbuss, what Blunderbuss does, like its effect, is still the same, which is surprising. I was surprised if they had nerfed Scimitar anyway, so Scimitar stuff is largely staying the same, which is still viable. No change to Burn, so Burn is largely in the same state it was, which is pretty unplayable early unless you get very good rolls with finding 3 burn items and a skill or a Zoacid, which is pretty much required, or you get an enchanted burn item. And then trying to keep that tempo by finding a skill on Argenta and carrying that forward into a burn build or slow burn, or I guess turning that into Primordial. And I think the weapon builds are largely unchanged by anything we've seen here, even by system changes. Like there's no change to defense, or I mean there could be changes to other characters' defenses to help them defend better against weapons, and I guess that remains to be seen through play. But I think weapon lines earlier are largely the same. Mid-game weapon lines are largely the same. You're looking for crit, you want to play Scimitar or Cyber and then look for either larger weapons in the form of Cannonade, or those crit builds, or ammo loops with Blunderbuss. And there's no change to the weapon skills. So things like frontline logistics is still the same. Crit damage scaling, blah blah blah. It sounds like you're just going to play those same boards, which I guess is kind of boring. Catfish is maybe now a more reliable early build. There's more. I mean, Cauterizing Blade was already a good mid-game option, but now it's still a bit more reliable. Flagship is probably less reliable now, and maybe you can do some stuff with Stealth Glider. So overall, I think not many interesting Vanessa changes, not any real buffs. Which is not surprising. People hated on Vanessa towards the end, even if her win rate was kind of shot after the hotfix. So I don't think she's going to be strong for a while now. But maybe the system changes will allow her to get ahead of other characters who have bad econ items. And I guess it remains to be seen what exactly these fights do and what some of these new nodes do. So, I mean, the only way to tell is to play in the new season. I think my plan will probably be I'll make my way up to Legend, just experimenting and stuff. Probably won't make a video of that, but once I reach Legend and I start to try and climb into High Legend, I'll probably start making videos now, once I have the knowledge of what the patch looks like, how I think it's best to play Vanessa and navigate the early days and get into late game and deal with the change to the econ and look at the new nodes. So yeah, so once I have more experience with the patch, I'll actually be able to give you some advice and I'll probably start making videos then. So do look out for that. Patch dropping tomorrow. I don't know what the time is because I'm not PST, whatever the heck you guys call it. But once I do get into Legend, which it seems like the changes to rank means it'll take a bit more time. Although I am ending at High Legend, so I'll probably start in Low Diamond or High Gold. So it'll take me less time, but once I can get into Legend, I'll start making some videos giving some advice. So do look out for that.